Welcome back on stage, Daniel. I'll took your seat now. You switch sides. I don't think you have to introduce yourself. I hope everybody knows you. But in terms of OpenSmile, can you shortly explain what OpenSmile is doing right now?
Right now. Yeah, that's kind of weird because obviously always when we organize such venues, such events, we never speak about ourselves. So that's a first. And yeah, OpenSmile. We started back as a storytelling agency and focused on that and did a lot of content, obviously, where we helped companies explain what they stand for, what they do, who they are, and why people should book them, work with them whatsoever, and transformed now into a complete digital agency, which is almost 360, that does basically everything digital.
So the idea, switching the main target or the main audience of OpenSmile already involved, like in 2019, I think when we first spoke. How did the pandemic actually change your point of how to work, how to use OpenSmile as a marketing agency or as an agency?
Well, I think there's phases in that, right? And so I think most of us faced a difficult and challenging situation in 2020. And what we had planned for 2020-21 was then slightly different from what we experienced, right?
Yes, definitely.
And but we still stick to our path. We transitioned some stuff, and lucky enough, we already had some ideas that we wanted to change anyhow that spoke to the need of the market, and that comes with the digital outsourcing, for example.
From the hotelier's point of view, what aspects changed during the time?
Well, obviously, again, there are multiple layers, and there's some nice metaphors as well. So I think you know whom I'm talking about when I'm mentioning, like, we tried to do video conferences before with several customers in the past, before the pandemic, and they always said, no, you're coming to XYZ, I'm not mentioning the city. We want to meet face to face, and 3 months into the pandemic, all of a sudden they said, oh, I do video conference all the time with my staff now, because staff is not on site anymore, and they completely had a transition and a change of mindset and an openness all of a sudden towards technology, towards digital things, and many of the things that we discussed before. And for the first time since I'm in the industry, since 2007, hoteliers specifically had the time to invest and to dive into change processes, into, can I do that differently? Do I have to change my tech stack for that? Can I achieve that with my current setup? What kind of staff do I need for that? Or speaking towards the need for staff, okay, so many people are gone now from my hotel operations. Most likely several of them will not be coming back. What do I need to change to actually be able to operate again?
Actually, I'm missing your approach, holistic point of view. Actually, that was the one I was looking for. How does the market actually react to this change in the offer, and especially this change into the on the processes which they happen in their business? Do the hotels actually fear this change, or are they open-minded to this new this new technologies coming up?
Well, there's always a certain fear in many things, right? But I feel a certain openness in the meantime, and again a transition towards the need to do things, right? Because before in our industry, many hoteliers had a pretty comfy situation. So things were working, everyone made money, they had a certain occupancy, either 66% or 85%, whatever, but it was okay, basically, for everyone. Now things changed. Now you have to do things to be able to open up, right? And we had hoteliers in the last months or last 2 years that have 4 floors and 2 floors are closed. right? And so there's a certain need, and I don't know if the number is correct, but I heard there's like 250,000 people missing in hotel operations only in Germany. And there's, I think Pontus told me from Berner Becker, there's like 5 million missing until 2030. So if you don't change now, when will you start, right? And because, okay, you can be the only hotel remaining that still runs around with 80 people that you don't find, or with two floors closed, and everyone else is changing. So, and not everything is black and white, obviously. So it's not that things are targeted towards kicking out people or exchanging people. It's rather towards, I don't have those people, I need to change my process.
So when a hotel wants actually to start a transition, either in marketing or in tech stack, what should a hotel focus on?
I think that's a very individual question, because it really depends on what kind of hotel operation you have. Is it a small 12 rooms hotel, or is it a 150 rooms hotel in a big city? Is it a hotel group? I think Marion mentioned that from the student hotel, you really need to start analyzing what is your base, what is your core value towards the customer, and then start analyzing from there, what do I need to change to keep that core? I think that was a pretty good example. And then build up on that. And whether that's people-based or technology-based or whatever, that really depends on your setup.
We learned from all the different chats we had today that technology is getting more and more important. How do you see this development for the hotels and for you, or for us, obviously, as a vendor?
I think technology should hopefully not be a pain point anymore in an ideal world, but an enabler. And we know there's still legacy and old data and old technology which is hindering developments. But from what we could see during the day, and that's maybe rather like a summary from all the discussions we already had throughout the day, there's so much going on and there's so much power happening in our market. And for the last 15 years, a lot of the discussions were based on frustrations, looking outside, looking into retail, into all the things the big players are doing, and why our industry is not able to do that. And there was always a big discussion, should we build a one-stop shop, or should it be a diversification? Should I really focus on every little niche to have the right technology for that, a CRM, a CRS, a channel manager, PMS, whatever, and then plug and play? And so I think right now what we can see on the market from a provider perspective is as well, there's so much new crazy stuff going on, which is exciting. At the same time, there's so much crazy new stuff going on, which is exciting. How do you pick? How do you select? How do you know what is the right one? How do you know, should I invest into that, or can I try that? Do I have the resources to try stuff? And from what I can see and hear is that people are feeling a little bit overwhelmed in many aspects to that. And there's no real platform, consulting, whatever, where you really get a top-notch information on everything. So you need to pick your resources and you need to build your network. And I think that's key. And that's exactly what's happening today here as well again. And that's why it's not only us, and then tomorrow with HSMA and with the guys from Tech Talk Travel with ITB and what have you, with the many events that HSMA is organizing. You need to build your network. You need to select the people that you want to talk to and that you trust, because there's a big layer and a big level of trust that is needed to decide on such things that are really core for your business. So for example, only here today I think there's 3 or 4 PMS providers. Which one is the right one? There's no yes and no, there's no black and white on that. And for someone there will be this one and the next one that one, because it depends on your build-up and your setup, it depends on your other technology, it depends on your location, it depends on your outlets. There's so many dependencies, and who's gonna decide all that? And we see that as well. There's decisions being taken, I go to that provider, and 6 months later or 3 months later, they take the decision back and go back to where they have been, or to the third one. because it was not the right decision. And that's not necessarily because it's a bad product. It's just not the right product fit for that property. And so I think there's the need for network, there's the need for people you trust, there's the need for people in your environment that understand who you are, what you do, and that can help you.
So you talked about the decision-making process for the tech stack. From our point of view, we see that a lot of hotels are really missing their experienced members of staff when it comes to digitalization, online marketing. What's your personal opinion on either be capable to do everything in-house, and on the other side, maybe outsource some part of this process, or maybe outsource everything of the online marketing process?
Well, that's rather a question for you, but I will still try to answer that. So, again, it's very different. We speak to small individual hotels. Will a small individual hotel with 20 rooms or whatever be able to hire a marketing tech nerd and maintain that and have someone to paint that path if it's not themselves the owner and stay with them for a long time? And will a potential employee even be interested in working for such a hotel? That's a big question mark, and I doubt it. If you have a bigger hotel, it's maybe more likely, but then again, people will swap. People will stay for 1 year, 2 years, and all that know-how will transition and go somewhere else. So you need rather someone who's like a partner, someone who helps you educate those people in outsourcing as we do, or in consulting or whatever, or as well from the tech providers that can help you to a certain extent. And then there's hotel groups that in most cases don't need a complete replacement for a full department or for a full role, but that might need to get a little bit of help in CRMs topics, newsletter topics, social media topics, online marketing, bid management, whatever, that have a completely different perspective, and that either need to have someone from the head office team trained on a certain topic, or that just don't find the right talent to do that and then just outsource it to someone.
How would you, when it comes to outsourcing, do you think outsourcing will help the hotel to train their people on spot? Is this something outsourced marketing can be useful for, or outsourced digitalization?
If that's the goal, yes, absolutely. If you have the plan to maybe hire someone in the next months to take over a certain role, but maybe rather hire someone junior because you don't want to invest like whatever 60, 70, 80,000 euros, or you can't, then obviously that could be a good strategy, because basically what happens if you don't do that, and if you just hire someone junior and let them play, right? Let them into the role and say, okay, we need this, 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 and this, start playing around, start fiddling around and start trying. Obviously, you do not only lose time, but it's all based on trying, right? And not based on experience, not based on know-how, or to a certain extent know-how, obviously, but not a too deep value on that. And so it could be obviously helpful to have someone prepare something, prepare a concept, prepare a strategy, get going, start going, and then start on the job training someone, and then maybe taking over after 3 months, 6 months, whatever, and step back.
Mm-hmm. If a hotel wants to decide between, okay, I would like to hire somebody, or rather to outsource certain services, what are key factors for the success of either outsourcing or having my own member of staff, so in-house?
Yeah. Budget, obviously, availability of know-how. So do you have a product service attractive enough to find the right talent that could do that? Then obviously the outsourcing companies, well, what can they provide? What industry know-how do they have that actually can help you? Because we've seen as well people hiring agencies that don't know anything about hospitality, and then cost a lot of money, spend a lot of budget, and then not really a lot is happening. We see that especially in pitches with bigger hotel groups. And I think it's a fair thing to do right now, is as well to deny jobs and say, and tell the hotel or the hotel operation, okay, we can do that, and that obviously helps us, but it doesn't help you. And I think that's something we need in the industry. We need people to be honest. We need people to be straightforward. And sometimes we lose a job because of that, and we lose revenue. But I think that's the right thing to do on the long run, because the industry might appear big, but the industry is small. And if you ruin projects, or if you're not honest about projects and about the delivery, about the potential outcome, then people will know.
A couple of minutes ago, you talked about that there is a constant change, especially with all those tech vendors over here at our meeting. What challenges do you think the actual hotel have starting a new tech stack, or looking into the tech stack?
Yeah, I think that's basically what I mentioned with Mike as well. I think it's that they are rather overwhelmed with the offering and with the changes. And that's something I get as a feedback as well from consultants, and we are not consultants at all. And that's that you worked your career throughout a certain level in hospitality, then you swapped sides towards consulting because you had a really good setup and know-how, but it's so difficult to stay on top of everything that is going on. And as an example, if you look at the guys from Apaleo, which are not, I don't know, I don't see them, but
they are at the bar already.
But like, what was Apaleo 2 years ago and what is Apaleo today? The guys from Revinate, right? What was Revinate 5 years ago? What is Revinate today with the latest acquisition and everything? There. What's going on? What is Hotel Birds? Did Martin from Concept Hotels have the dependency on someone like Hotel Birds 2 years ago for check-in? Maybe. Does he still have the dependency today? Maybe not, right? So can you stay on top of these things as an individual? I think that's really difficult. And then from a hotelier perspective, that is involved with guests, with check-in, with staff, with finding staff, with operations. I think that's difficult.
Switching the point of view to the vendors and to all our partners here at our little meeting, what are the actual approaches how the vendors are coming towards us as an outsourced agency, and maybe what challenges do the vendors see when talking to hotels when it comes to technology?
Straightforward, it's 90%, 95%, it's always exactly the same challenge. And that's basically the handling of a customer, the service, the setup of the product, and the usage of the product. Why? Because a technology provider in most cases has not the interest to spend hours and hours and hours with a hotel, training them, educating them, running the project for them, running the product for them, but basically to set up something fruitful that makes sense, and it makes sense in most cases, right? So most of them have a beautiful product. And then we face the hotelier, again, that is stuck with so many routines and so many tasks. There's like, okay, hey, from the pitch that someone gave from a tech provider, that Patrick from Revinate gave, like he promised all these glory, shiny things, right? And that's the truth, yeah, it works. But then you need to have someone on hotel side to actually turn that around together with them. And yeah, there's a lack of capacities and know-how obviously as well at certain times. So what feedback do I get from the tech providers? It's that there's this missing linkage between the hotelier and the tech provider, like a translator, let's call it. Someone who really helps the tech provider to increase the usage of the product and the sense of the product, because what we see, and I was on the tech provider side for many years, and we had beautiful products as well, but the usage level was kind of 10% of the power and of the potential, and then the frustration on the hotelier perspective. I spend so many euros each month on a tech solution that I don't really use. But is that the mistake of the provider, or is that the mistake of the hotelier? No, it's just like there's a coincidence in the industry that there's no real fit in there. and there must be solutions.
So, if you are able to give us an outlook of the next 2 to 3 years, what do you think will change in the usage of technology, and especially from the hotelier's point of view, what will change in targeting or communicating with the customers? What is your personal opinion?
From a tools perspective, I think through the enablement that we see with the marketplaces from multiple providers and the deeper integration potentials and the disappearance of hindering points, let's call it, that you have to pay whatever 12,500 euros for the interface to implement it and then a monthly fee. I think that opens a lot of potentials, that this is kind of disappearing, and that opens the potential as well to try things as a first. That we see that happening already now, but if you think 5 years back, 10 years back, a normal hotelier, did they really go into trying a solution? Not really. They decided for something and then they had to stick with it, right? And that's currently changing because you can plug and play. You can use the data from here and put it there and see what happens. You can analyze it, you can build dashboards. There's new layers. You can build your own technology on certain products and see what happens and whether that helps you. Numa is a great example. They use multiple products and technologies to build their own tech stack and run their own hotels and their own Numa Go services with it. And so I think that's changing, and that ideally will change a lot within how we work and as well how attractive we are as an industry for employees. Because if you think about all the old blue DOS screens that I was still working with, and you most likely as well.
Unfortunately, we are pretty old.
Yeah. Yeah, that was not really attractive. And when I started back then with Microsoft and had to work with all those boring GDS screens, I was like, that's my future. That's what I studied for. Yeah, so you get disillusioned maybe sometimes with things like that. And now, if I think about if I would be 25, 26, 27 again coming into this industry, it's exciting. When you see all the potential, when you see all those potential solutions out there and all the things you can do, what Neil said before, all the things they can analyze, all the stuff they can dive into, all the clusters they can build for different levels of customers, families, individuals, couples coming to a city, leisure business, corporate business, that you can approach individually. And that sounds very like a lot of work from a hotelier perspective. But on top, you can automate these things. And that's the second part I wanted to dive into. There might be so much automation based on data coming that, again, it will be possible to do these things. And isn't that exciting?
It is, definitely. So more or less coming to an end, now you have the right audience to address actually two wishes. One to the vendors and our tech partners, and the other wish to the hoteliers. What are those two wishes you would like to address right now?
You didn't brief me on this conversation. Yeah,
definitely not.
Wishes to providers. Well, several of them are doing that already, but I think what is key is really openness and sharing data. And I think Andre from Hotel Champ is a good example for that, because he says, why do we have to stick to our data and protect it? Like, this is ours. No, it's not. It's the data of the hotels. And so I think a certain openness towards sharing and evolving and spitting out everything you know and giving it out so people can use that, because it's the same example for us. If we share information with people we work with our customer, whoever, this information in 3 months, 6 months is already old. So why not share it? We are evolving constantly. We are trying to improve what we do constantly. We are trying to build up new technologies, new services constantly. So why not share what we know today? Because that's going to be old tomorrow. And towards hoteliers, yeah, stay interested. Try to, as I said before, try to build your network. Abuse your network, especially when it comes to tech providers. Ask them 1,000 questions. They want to sell something, ask them, right? So trust to a certain extent. So if you speak to providers, if you speak to hoteliers, try to build your trust level and ask them as well, what's the right product fit when I start changing that or operating there? And then, and I think that's even more important, build your network as well within the hoteliers. Because if you only look at the student hotel, I was at Aletto Hotel yesterday to understand what they do. And then we look at Citizen M, and then we look at Hotel Shani, then we speak to the guys where we have our office in Hamburg of Superbude. Try to understand, is that what I'm doing as my traditional corporate hotel in a big city, the model of the future? Or should I diversify it? And maybe not. Maybe what you do is exactly right. I'm not judging. I'm just saying, ask yourself those questions. Am I still the right thing? Am I still offering the right model? Am I still hitting the right occupancies? Will I be able from April, May, June onwards to hit those potentials when things open up again? Or am I stuck in 2019?
Yeah, that's perfect. The perfect last word. I think we now have the time for a 2-minute break and get our coffee.
Oh yeah.
Daniel, thank you very much. We see you later on stage again.
Oh yeah, 30 minutes I'm back. Sorry.
So, talk to you soon then. Thanks.
Thanks so much.